to my 211 subscribers, my future subscribers, and all the people that secretly watch me without subscribing. I'm recording this direction, so the other direction right now, because the rest of the video is in this format, so why not? Anyway, so this video is a compilation of all the mini stories that I put on TikTok this year. And for those that didn't follow along, I created a TikTok on January 1st and made a vow to make a video every day. I did fail a couple of times, and then I just made up for it by doing multiples the following days. But so I did get the proper amount and even a couple extras. So anyway, most of the videos are from January 1st through November 16th. Most of them were prompts out of my book, Journals Simplified. And I did like one prompt out of each category each day, and then every 16 days the categories start over. And so there are 20 mini stories, and these mini stories, the way they work in the book, it provides half a sentence, and you're supposed to write a journal entry that completes the story. So I just did little mini versions for the videos, and I just thought I'd do a wrap up of all the videos combined. I did cut the beginning off of every video because who wants to hear me explain the directions 20 times? So anyway, that's what this is. Feel free to make up stories using the prompts, and you can tell me your thoughts or whatever you want. And yeah, so hope you enjoy it. Once upon a time, I was taking a walk when I found baby unicorns drinking from a river and frolicking. Their silvery coats shimmered in the sunlight, and their tiny hooves barely touched the grass as they playfully bounded around. I stood frozen in awe, not wanting to disturb them, but unable to look away. One of the unicorns noticed me, its large eyes sparkling with curiosity. Slowly, it trotted over, sniffing the air before nuzzling my hand. My heart raced as I reached out to gently pet its soft, magical fur. Just as I began to feel a deep connection, the unicorn nickered and scampered back to its playful siblings. Before I knew it, they all disappeared into the forest, leaving me standing there wondering if I had dreamed the whole thing. There once was a talking fish that started off as a little molly in someone's fish tank. One day, friends of the molly's owner broke into the house, stealing the tank because they knew its gravel was pure gold. They dumped the molly into a nearby pond and disappeared. Determined to set things right, the molly swam up to a boy at the pond's edge. "Listen carefully," the little fish said. Startled but curious, the little boy listened as the fish told him what happened. About the robbery, the gold gravel, and even the thieves' names. The boy ran to the police, and though they were skeptical, the information helped recover the stolen loot. The boy became a hero, but he kept the molly's secret. Visiting the pond every day, he and the little fish became inseparable, their unusual friendship growing stronger with each visit. When I walked home from school, I couldn't get into the house, so I headed to the backyard to think. I noticed the trampoline and decided to bounce on it while trying to brainstorm. But I was having so much fun, I didn't realize how high I was going. Suddenly, I was flying through the air. Before I could even scream, I crashed through the small vent in the rafters. I tried to get up, stumbled, and fell through the ceiling above the living room, somehow landing on the couch, dazed but unharmed. Within moments, my parents walked into the house and found me resting on the couch. When my dad asked how I got in, I said a vent. He laughed until his eyes followed my gaze to a hole in the ceiling. As I stepped through the entrance of the cave, I heard someone whistling a tune. The melody echoed faintly against the damp walls, growing louder with each step I took. My curiosity tugged me forward, even as my instincts screamed to turn back. Deeper inside, I spotted a figure sitting on a rock, backlit by a faint glow. The sight gave me a chill, and I grabbed my black hoodie and put it on. The figure wore a tattered coat and tapped his foot in perfect rhythm to his eerie tune. "Been waiting for you," he said. My stomach dropped. "Me?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Who else?" he replied, his whistle morphing into a low chuckle. Then he turned, revealing eyes that glimmered like polished obsidian. In his hands, he held a small, glowing object. "You left this behind," he said, tossing it to me. I caught it instinctively and froze. It was a locket I hadn't seen since I was a child. The most unbelievable thing happened to me when I was walking down the street lost in thought. I tripped over a hole and spiraled down through a swirling, colorful mist. When I landed, I was surrounded by glowing trees, and the ground seemed to be pulsing like it was alive and breathing. I checked my phone, and there was no signal. I don't know why I put no signal on the back of the phone, but that's okay. My heart raced, but I couldn't help but feel excited too. I started walking cautiously, trying to make sense of where I was. As I walked around the corner, I saw them, 3 glowing portals, each one a different color. There was a red, a blue, and a green, and each one hummed with some sort of energy. I reached out to touch one of the portals, and suddenly there were 2 more of me waiting to go in, so I didn't have to choose. I was changing the channels on the TV when I was sucked into the TV and landed right in the middle of the movie Grease. Before I could sing, "Tell me more," I was flipping again. And suddenly, I was dodging dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. One more flip and bam! I'm in the middle of The Wizard of Oz. But just when I started dancing with the scarecrow, flip, and I'm actively surfing on a big wave in the ocean. I finally seen a big floating power button and pushed it, and I landed back on my couch, comfortable in my own home. Next time, I think I'm just gonna read a book. Walking through the woods, I looked into a hole in a tree and saw some fairies having a dance party. Before I could even blink, something tugged at my chest. And as I stumbled forward, the hole in the tree widened with the quiet groan of bark and magic. And the next thing I knew, I was inside the tree, surrounded by fairies. I sat carefully on one of the bumpy red toadstools, feeling every tiny eye on me, like I was the strangest creature they had ever seen. 2 fairies suddenly grabbed my hands and pulled me off the toadstool. My heart jumped, unsure if I should fight or follow. I let them lead, unsure of my steps, unsure of myself. But something about the rhythm felt safe. And then something shifted. The music, the magic, whatever was inside of me, it danced too. I think that's why they brought me here. Not to keep me, but to help me learn how to feel the light. I didn't want to go, but I wasn't meant to stay. And that was okay. The forest hadn't changed, but I wasn't holding the darkness so tightly anymore. I found my birth certificate in the attic, and my parents are really not my parents. I just sat there staring at it, like somehow the paper would explain everything. I started tearing through the attic, hoping something, anything, would make sense. Inside of an envelope marked for when she's ready, I found a photo, a letter, and the truth. The letter said I was placed with my parents for my protection. The CIA had been experimenting on children, trying to create soldiers who couldn't get sick. I was subject 27. Then I heard footsteps downstairs, slow, deliberate, and definitely not my parents. I had hoped the music that I left playing downstairs would cover up the sound of my footsteps as I searched for some protection and somewhere to hide. And this is where AI decided not to give me any more pictures because I mentioned finding a baseball bat. So use your imagination. I was locked inside of a store, but I wasn't alone for long. 3 brownies popped out, dragging a pencil that was twice their size. Finally, one of them shouted, "The landlord has arrived." I blinked at them and told them I was only 7. One of them nodded and said I was a child prodigy. They showed me the dollhouse that they were living in. They gave me a handful of candies to cover their rent. When the owner came back, the brownies scattered. All they left behind was a trail of glitter. My doctor mistakenly told me that I have 6 months to live, so I let my mind spiral into chaos. I grabbed a pen and excitedly made a list of all of my wildest dreams. The first thing I did was become a street DJ. Then I built a gypsy wagon and drove around sharing my books with the world. The following month, I grabbed my camera equipment and went in search of aliens. I was having so much fun that I had to go find Atlantis. The Atlanteans sent me home through a beautiful portal because I was missing my kids. By then, I was feeling really tired and decided to go take a break on a private island. When I got back to town, I got a call and the doctor let me know his mistake. And then everybody decided to celebrate. My teacher put me in charge of the class for a day, and I decided to read from an old magic book for fun. I heard the door open, and when I looked over, the principal was standing in the doorway. I didn't think to stop, and I finished the spell, and then poof, the principal was turned into a toad. I didn't think the spell would actually work. I fell down as the entire class broke out in fits of laughter. The class clown decided to take a ride on the principal as a toad. I shushed the class to try and get them to be quiet so I could think of what to do. So I concentrate and look through the book trying to find a reversal spell. Luckily, the spell worked and the principal stood there looking confused. When the teacher returned, I told him that the day went flawlessly. thought I heard it raining outside, but when I looked out the window, tiny water balloons were splatting all over the yard. I ran outside to get a better look. The higher I looked, the more balloons I saw. One hit my hand and glittery slime oozed through my fingers. I looked up even higher and seen a giant laughing in the clouds. I tried yelling, but he couldn't hear me. Suddenly, a staircase made of clouds came down. I climbed them all the way to the top and found a big pile of balloons. The giant let me throw some of his balloons. A new kid arrived at my school, and I tried to look and see who they were. We don't get too many new kids, so everybody's crowded around so they could see. Suddenly, all the kids were running away and screaming. I was confused, wondering what they were running from. I looked over at the car and seen him standing next to it watching me. I grabbed his hand and pulled him, running in circles. And then we both fell down laughing. I was walking through the zoo when all of the cages opened, and the animals followed me curiously and calmly. I glanced over my shoulder in disbelief. The giraffe got his face so close to me that I thought our eyes were going to touch. The giraffe startled me when it broke out into laughter. The laughter of all the animals was contagious. They all suddenly stopped laughing and turned to look towards the center of the zoo. Then they all turned and went back to their cages like they were hypnotized. I woke up one morning and I couldn't find any people anywhere. So I walked out into the street to take a look around and see what I can see. I decided to go to the theater to watch the newest movie. After I got the projector started and was about to walk away, film started spitting out all over me. I decided to go to McDonald's and get me some ice cream. Then the machine malfunctioned and spit ice cream everywhere. I decided to take a casual walk, feeling sticky and frustrated. Suddenly, water started spraying me from the car wash. I ended up going to the zoo to see if there were any animals around. I walked up to an alpaca and dared it to spit on me like everything else had been spitting on me all day. And of course it did, and I felt defeated, so I went and sat down at a nearby bench. An alien came to my house wanting to take me to its planet. Or at least that's what I assumed as he tried to pull me into his ship. I pulled my hand free from him and scolded him. I motioned for him to follow me inside of the house. I went to grab him some food to try out of my fridge and told him to go sit down. I prepared a selection of my favorite foods for him. He excitedly tried all of the foods like a little kid with ice cream. Then he handed me a rainbow-colored orb that was glowing, which made the entire world come out clear and crisp. I loaded him up with a whole bunch of food from our planet, and he took it thankfully and headed back home. As I stepped closer to the rainbow, I realized that it was stuck. So I decided to go look for the other end. The colors shined through the trees in ways that defied logic. When I reached the other end, it was stuck in quicksand, flailing its arms that I never expected to see. Despite the absurd logic, I threw a log across the quicksand for it to grab a hold of. The rainbow used the log to launch itself into the air, freeing itself from the quicksand. I ran back through the woods to see what had happened to the rainbow. I come running out and found it dancing and flipping around in the meadow. Then it wrapped itself around me in a warm hug. I was in bed when I heard a voice calling my name. So startled, I sat up to see who it was. Knowing there shouldn't be anybody else in my home, I cautiously got up and looked out my bedroom door. As I got to the bottom of the stairs, I heard a noise coming from the kitchen. In the kitchen, I discovered a huge mess on the counter. As I walked past the fridge, I heard a voice yelling for help and swearing inside of the fridge. When I opened the fridge, a strange creature was raiding it. He ran to the counter with the food while telling me that he was my best friend's boyfriend and she had cast a spell on him. I remembered my friend telling me that he was a sloppy monster yesterday, and I couldn't help but start laughing. I was taking a walk and daydreaming when I realized I was lost. So I looked around me, curious and confused. Obviously, reality had glitched because these were no longer the woods that I had started walking through. The glitch became more obvious when a fairy flew past my face. Then suddenly, an adorable dragon rubbed up against me, apparently wanting petted. I assumed I was dreaming, so I attempted to fly, but nothing happened. Still assuming I was dreaming, I decided to try and run really fast, but only ran at my normal pace. When I stopped, I was in the middle of a magical, fantastical village. The village broke out into chaos and commotion as a phoenix placed a crown on my head. I was crowned their queen, and I have no idea why. I got into a taxi for a casual ride across town. I removed my jacket to get comfortable while listening to the driver hum a beautiful melody. I was reminded how different my town is from the city when we drove by a bunch of clowns. I slid across my seat to get a better look at a bonfire that people seemed to be ignoring. I slid back to the other side to get a better look at some wild animals that were casually walking down the street. I got out at my friend's house after paying the driver. When my friend seen me, she came running. As I explained to my friend all the things that I had seen on the way to her house, she laughed at me. She told me it was all normal while continuing to laugh at me. So I hope you enjoyed those, and please like, subscribe, comment, and share, and get your friends to do the same thing. And I will be back soon.